Hello, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I, of course, am just another heavy metal maniac. And, well, firstly, I suppose we should address the elephant in the room, that being the fact that I, at this point, have not uploaded a video for a month. So, I did make a YouTube short explaining this earlier, but a lot of you might not have seen it, and a lot of you are still probably wondering, why haven't I been uploading? What is the reason for my absence from YouTube? As of late, and I'll explain it right now. So, kind of two major things happened. For one, my trusty handy dandy laptop, which was archaic and a dinosaur and was bound to die eventually, finally had its last hurrah and bravely decided to pass on into the great recycling plant in the sky. So, yeah, basically, my laptop died, and luckily, all of my stuff pretty much is saved on like my Google like Chrome drive, so I didn't like lose any important files or anything, or lose any like my YouTube sign in information or my passwords or anything. And I finally have acquired a new laptop. I'm still kind of getting used to this one and still trying to adjust it to my settings, so it's not going to be perfect, but at least I have a thing that I can finally make videos on. So that was kind of the first major thing. My laptop went kaput. And secondly, I was involved in a major move. Yeah, I switched houses, and any of you who have moved before know it is a absolute pain in the ass to move. But I'm finally moved in. I got most of my stuff here, or actually all my stuff here. Finally, just getting settled in, and it's such a relief that I'm finally able to settle in, and I'm finally glad I'm going to be able to make videos once again, so you can expect more regular uploads from me as I do more album reviews, discography rankings, and all that fun stuff you guys have pretty much come to expect from this channel. And well, I suppose that's a good segue into the topic of today's video, which is going to be none other than a new album review. So today I'm going to be reviewing none other than the latest offering from Paradise Lost, entitled Ascension. So this album released on the 19th of September, so 2 days ago as of when I'm recording this, via Nuclear Blast Records. This is the 17th studio album from this legendary English Death Doom slash Gothic metal act. Really, if you are a Death Doom fan or a Gothic metal fan, this band really does not need much of an introduction at all. They are one of the most legendary acts, one of the pioneering acts. Of course, they were part of the Peaceville Free alongside My Dying Bride and Anathema. Personally, I would argue they were the best of the Peaceville Free. Sorry, My Dying Bride and Anathema, but yeah, I absolutely love this band. I recently did a discography ranking for them, and that was a really fun discography to go over because, minus kind of a few albums that are of lesser quality, this band is pretty consistent just about releasing albums that are really strong, because even though they kind of do change up their style and stuff, like they started off obviously as a much heavier kind of straightforward Death Doom act, and then they kind of transitioned to more gothic metal and so even like gothic rock at points, and then of course there's that kind of weird experimental point where they kind of sound like Depeche Mode for a little bit, and then eventually they got back to their more Death Doom roots. But yeah, this band is just very consistent about releasing quality albums, in my opinion. So yeah, I absolutely love this band, and I love most of their albums. So I was very much anticipating this release. And I suppose we should get into the album itself now. I will say right off the bat, this album did not really disappoint. If you were a fan of Paradise Lost prior to this album, particularly in the last four Paradise Lost albums, like, or last three before this one, I should say, from Plague Within up until Obsidian, which I love Obsidian. God, that album's amazing. If you like that three album run, you are going to like this album because it's very stylistically comparable to those three albums, I would say. And yeah, there are a bunch of really good tracks on this album. It's about 50 minutes long, which might be a little long into for some of you, but personally, I think the length of this album was just fine for this style. The three songs they released as singles, Serpent on the Cross, Tyrant's Theranos, and Silence Like the Grave, are three of the best songs on the album. I absolutely love all three of those songs, especially Serpent on the Cross. What a great opening track. Just really perfect pace setter and mood setter for this album. Other tracks in this album I personally really liked are Salvation, which might be my favorite track on this album, honestly. It is the longest track, too. Clocking in at just over 7 minutes, but God, that song is absolutely awesome. Just doomy, gloomy. Lay a Reef Upon the World is another one of my favorites. I think that song it's one of the kind of more softer songs on this album, but it's not like a soft poppy ballad or anything. Like it's still a very dark, very gloomy song. Savage Days is another one that's kind of a little more on the softer end, but again, not like poppy, ballady soft. It's kind of much more, a bit more of kind of a gothic rock type song, say, or more of a gothic metal type of song. And yeah, this album kind of touches on a lot of different aspects of Paradise Lost's career, I would say. Not so much, again, like the weird, kind of more experimental electronic stuff that they went through in like the late 90s, early 2000s. But there's definitely some stuff on here that's very reminiscent of like Gothic and Shades of God. There's also stuff on here that I would say is very comparable to like Draconian Times and Icon. Really, I would say this album is most comparable, though, to, again, the last three albums, particularly Obsidian. I feel like is probably the closest, like, stylistic comparison between these two albums. Although I will say, I feel like this album isn't necessarily as varied as Obsidian was. I feel like even though both albums have their moments of just like kind of playing around with different styles, I feel like Obsidian was a little bit more ambitious on that front, but that's not to say this album is a downgrade or anything. It's still a really good, solid album that, again, you get good moments of where it's kind of very heavy, just still morose, but very heavy Death Doom sections with Nick Holmes, still amazing death growls. Like, his voice really has not gone downhill at all since the 90s. Like, he still has a very, um, like big, huge death metal roar that is awesome. You get moments on here where he kind of brings in his more gruffer cleans that kind of are a bit more reminiscent, I would say, of like James Hetfield almost, although like again a little more morose than James Hetfield. And then you also get his kind of more gloomy, very clean, beautiful gothic singing, which is just absolutely amazing in my opinion. And again, I do like all the songs flow very well, and they kind of hop around between these two different or multiple different styles, but none of the transitions feel jagged or abrupt. Like the songs all flow very well. Like the transitions between like the more death metal moments and the more doom metal moments. Again, all of it's very well put together. It's a very well paced album, in my opinion. The production of this album, in my opinion, is pretty stellar as well. It is a little more modern sounding, but I feel like it kind of finds that happy balance between like super polished modern production and like very gritty raw production. Even though it's modern, it's not overly polished. Like you still get that kind of grit and dirt that you need for like heavy, nasty Death Doom, but with these kind of gothic overtones. It's very, which helps create some of these more epic moments on this album. And it's not epic like a power metal epic. Like, again, it's more epic like watching the world collapse before your eyes. Like, again, it's a very dark, moody, haunting album, especially when you read the lyrics, which are all just about futility and depression and sadness and darkness and just isolation. All pretty much all the lyrical tropes that I feel like you'd come to expect from Paradise Lost. I will say I feel like this album almost kind of dips into like prog territory in some spots as well. Like there are some moments on this album that are almost kind of like Opeth ish. Like it doesn't go like full bore like progressive death metal or like progressive doom metal or anything, but there are like moments on here where the songwriting feels more complex, more intricate. Like there is again stuff on this album that feels like feels reminiscent of like Opeth or even like a little bit of like kind of Edge of Sanity at some spots, particularly like kind of Purgatory Afterglow era Edge of Sanity a little bit. Again, just not it's not overt. It's just kind of little tinges. But yeah, I love this album. Really, if you couldn't tell already, I think this album is honestly damn near perfect. Like there really isn't any major complaints I have on this album. If I do have any complaints, it's just that well, for one, I feel like they could have been a little bit more varied. Like I feel like Obsidian, which again I just absolutely love that album. That was my number 3 album when I did my Paradise Lost ranking. That album is because that album like touched on like every phase of their career. I felt like, and I really love that album. This album isn't as varied, but that's really again not really a complaint. I of course 5 years between those two albums, so maybe not exactly the most fair comparison. And I'm sure they also didn't want to like rewrite the same album again. So I do give them credit there. And the only other real kind of complaint on this album, this isn't even really much of a complaint, honestly, is that I feel like this album is fairly front loaded. Like, in my opinion, the first half of this album is kind of much more interesting than the second half of this album. That's not to say it like completely drops off by the second half or anything, because the second half still has great songs on it. It's just I feel like all the better songs on this album are kind of on the first half of the album, which is kind of a common problem amongst just bands in general. I feel like And I will say, I feel like some of the best songs on this album, again, were released as singles, which I get that's the whole point of singles, to hype up, generate hype for albums and stuff. But I feel like they could have saved a couple. Like, I feel like maybe Tyrant Serenade or Silence Like the Grave could have easily not been released as singles because, again, I just love those songs. So I feel like they put some of their best songs out of singles, which kind of, it rubs me a little bit the wrong way. But again, it's not really even a slight against the album itself. Really, I have next to no complaints about this album. Like, again, if you are a fan of Paradise Lost, particularly the last three albums, and just even like their earlier stuff like Gothic and Shades of God, pretty much everything you have come to expect from Paradise Lost is on this album. And yeah, I really, really, really do like this album. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it like a 4 or even maybe like a 4.5. Like, it's really, I have no real complaints about this album at all. If I were to redo my Paradise Lost ranking, I'm not really sure where this album would go. I would probably have to spend a little bit more time with it to really give a concrete answer on that. But yeah, personally, I love this album. If you're a fan of Paradise Lost already, you're gonna like this album. If you somehow have managed to avoid Paradise Lost during your metal listening journey, first of all, shame on you. And secondly, you need to change that right away. And this honestly would not be a bad place to start because, again, pretty much everything that's good about Paradise Lost is on this album. But of course, if you are a fan of bands like My Dying Bride, Anathema, Catatonia, Typo Negative, and again with a little bits of Opeth and little bits of Edge of Sanity, I think this is an album that is very much worth your time. And yeah, I definitely check it out if you have not. And yeah, personally, that really kind of rounds up my thoughts on this album. I love it personally, and yeah, not much else to say. That kind of concludes my review of Paradise Lost's brand new album, Ascension. So, yeah, more videos will be coming soon in the future. Tons more album reviews coming up because there are a bunch of new releases that I'm very excited to go over with all of you guys. And, yeah, okay, so again, more videos coming soon. I do apologize for me being away from so long. It's just, all sorts of shit going on, and not having a laptop for a while really kind of impeded my YouTube career for a little bit, but I am officially back to making videos, so please do stay tuned for more. If you're not subscribed, do consider subscribing because I do have a lot more content coming your way. And of course, if you like this video, as always, consider leaving a like, leave a comment down below, tell me what are your thoughts on this album. I'd love to read your guys' comments. And, well, really, that's about all to say. I am just another heavy metal maniac. I'll see you all sometime in the future. In the meantime, I want all of you to take care and have an excellent, excellent rest of your day. It feels good to be back. So long.